Okay, welcome back. Hello to everyone viewing this video. This video will be towards how to make a guild regarding communication and how to handle your members and the purpose of your whole guild. I'm going to be using Photoshop as my demonstration tool. So, since I am from Vibe, I will just make it simple to have a introduction and just something for you guys to look at. In the background, just taking a bit because something is rendering currently. Okay, so these are my old files. I'm trying to go to the older files. These are my 3D models. I'm looking for a specific image to blend into the background. In terms, so I guess we can just start talking. Guilds and Vindictus have, from my perspective, a lot of interesting names. If you're starting a new guild, you have to ask yourself what is the name of the guild, what is the purpose of the guild, what kind of design you're trying to implant for the player base that you will be leading. So when I started, and I think you might have seen some previous videos of how I started, I came with a different mindset than most people would assume. Come on, color black. So what I'm going to be doing is writing down the structure that was given to me. You know, it's given to everyone. There's 4 of them. There's Guildmaster, there's administration, and there's also senior and member. If you're starting and you wanna, and there's somehow not a specific way to guide you how to make it, because the Vindictus is a very small game, so it's you build it without, you just wing it. You just try to wing it and learn. So the most important thing to consider is that you will be having to recruit momentarily through public callouts, and so that can get frustrating because then there's other clans that take the opportunity to promote their recruitment status in order to buy or lure in a potential new player or return player. And so I have a unique perspective. I do have my own critiques on certain way a guild master should endorse or lead or role by example their members, so that the community guideline for the whole game isn't to belittle or to discourage members, but rather inspire them and try to uh, promote healthy advertisement that they're going to be in a place that suits them the best. So there is um, there are mostly casual clan base, then there is committed types. Committed types tend to be strict, and then the casuals tend to be free rowing without direction or some type of guidance or some type of help. And so it differs from different clans. There's casual clans that do help, and then there's some that don't, some that do, some that charge. Some they just have their own methodical way of providing for players in general. So for this video, you are starting out as a guild leader, and you love the game so much, and you come to the conclusion that you are a person that has a time management schedule, and you have your own way of leading by example, and you want to try out with building your own clan and wanting to experience how it flows with you. The major problem in leading a community in Vindictus, specifically in any game, is having to deal with people you don't expect to deal with, having to deal with them. There's always going to be people that come from other backgrounds. They're coming from different parts of the world. They're coming from and they're coming from one place that you live in, and then another place completely foreign to you and completely foreign to them. So my intake as a strict leader and with an education background is you have to be willing to be open-minded to learning all types of backgrounds. There are certain constraints as a leader that you should take into account if you want to maintain a healthy responsibility with yourself and members overall. There will always be new players and fresh players that come with a background of, casualty. And when I mean by casualty, I mean like life has them pretty thrown, so their behavior and attitude is having to reinforce that in a better light. And so you have the choice to find a player that you can trust, that you have befriended in the game, or have or have someone outside of the game before you enter the game, a close friend or somebody that is on board with you with leading, so they can become the administrator. So the administrator is basically the backbone of the guild master. So when the guild master is not available, the administrator takes the lead. So it's a pretty straightforward branch. You can use it in any way you want. So you can the administration, there can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, or how many you feel is worth the effort. So the administration has is available to take the questions, the monitoring to the seniors and members. So pick someone that you trust wholeheartedly, that won't betray you, that won't hurt you, that won't, do things behind your back and create a unstable environment. Because that tends to happen a lot in the video game. It tends to, there's just a lot of things people don't realize, that certain actions favor another, whereas that action may not be respected with the guild leader. And so you always have to remind yourself to be strong. You'll have to remind yourself that there's bound to be some drama and you have to deal with it. And if you don't deal with it, your seniors and members are going to be like, hey, why are you not solving anything? That's the biggest thing that I noticed in many games and many guilds, is that the entitlement to lead a guild has a lot of responsibility. If you let it get over your head that because you're sitting on the throne and you have a title of a guild leader, a lot of times your players will leave. It's in human nature that we seek a leader that can push us to our limits, push us to where we need to be in our lives, or push us in general so we can become stronger. But at the end of the day, it's based on the direction of the leader. If there's no direction, you give them no direction, then you probably will feel like the home you created isn't for you, which it should have been you. And sometimes it's hard to put your foot down, because sometimes it's just like real life. There's just a person out there that is not willing to take your advice, not willing to make changes. They're just willing to just sit there and behave like a zombie. And it gets infuriating because your intention is to guide them to make sure they enjoy the game, to make sure they are happy in what you give them and provide for them. And so with your administrations should understand you. And in my perspective, I'm not saying it doesn't have to, you don't have to take what I have to say into account, and if it helps you, then great. If it doesn't help you, then try a different method. There's always other ways of different methods. Is that for me, when I have my administrations, like I explained in the previous, I didn't mention something. I always want my administrations to get along. You see, the structure between admins and leader has to do with what the guildmaster asks. So I guess we can create a little diagram here. Okay, so I'm speaking about the administration first because this is like the backbone to, whereas if the guild leader is not as strong mentally, and they need support to get the message across. It's like when you start out, you gotta make sure you have somebody that you can trust, because then you're gonna have to deal with these right here. So oftentimes it's you can get creative as you want. So in the game there is guild points. The standard for most guilds, from what I understand, not all of them are like that, but let's say the senior is the one you favor, the one that has proven to be a child to you, or your favorite child, or children, or the teenagers of the guild. And then the members are the babies. Doesn't matter what age they might be, because you don't know where they came from, you don't know how they are, you don't know if they're responsible to understand what's being spoken about. And so Remember that when you're a leader, you have to have self-respect, and you also have self-respect for others. No matter what other guild leaders may say, I'm pretty sure most of them would agree to this. And you may have encountered a guild leader with a different perspective, and I'm one that will tell you um, there is ways to lead in what you want to create. So this is me just explaining a summary of how the community is, and many times the not many people want to say it, and I'm going to say it. It's the guilds that foster behavior that is not healthy, because there's a ladder of notoriety, or there's a ladder of status between gaining the title of senior or member in a guild with high stats. It depends how the guild leader looks at you. If the guild leader gives you something, that's because they trust you. So if you give someone and you feel that they are worth the cost, the investment, or rather the investment of, you know, growing your community and growing your small little army or big army, just know that the precaution is that it may go to waste. Because a lot of times when we lead, we become attached to our members like their family. They're like a little virtual family. And so we like to be on our family when we come back from work, come back from school, and we all want to play together. Well, that's basically the thing about guilds in general. But if they don't have structure, in my opinion, no one's going to be happy. So always discuss how these things will work out with your administration, if you have one or two or three, or you just are leading by yourself. And maybe you want to experience, or you have experience, how to manage your members overall, which is fine, because every guild leader has every right to create what they want to create, and you also have that. So if you build a guild and you name it, you give it a specific name, players will look at that name, and the way the value of that guild name will work is that if you there's like a level of status. There's one that you will represent friendliness, you will represent humbleness, you will represent top tier, you will represent like what is the purpose of your guild. So like let's say I build a guild name Make. Nobody has that name. It says Make. Or like you can use a phrase to march, or to, something. It can be something goofy too. It can be something funny. It can be something related to food. It can be really. At the end, every single guild has some type of lead, and so the important thing to know is that you are creating an image in the community of your actions, of your uh, members, how you discipline them, and so you're giving the open door for other potential members to become part of your family. And so not everyone will like you. You know, that's kind of, but don't be discouraged if they don't like you, because there's certain reasons why certain people don't stay too long in guilds, and the ones that stay long are meant to stay with you. Now, to me, I find it fun to create a system, so everyone can create a system of their own. So I will give an example. I created a system for what I want my administration to work on, what do I want them to look into, and what do I expect out of seniors, and what is to make members. So members are like the babies, and you want them to be like respectful of the brother or the big brother or the big sister, which is the senior, the big sister. I actually just write it here: big brother senior, and they are the baby. So the make or the new, and let's just make this active. I like the I like this font because it's so it's easier to understand. I have the background. Okay, let's just. Okay, so. Okay, I'm just adding a plus because could have done the other way. Okay, so it's like kind of pretty simple. Let's say you use a arithmetic system and you make members. So the first thing is that members are babies, inexperienced. They're just new to the whole thing. They don't know what to expect. They don't know anything. They assume or think they know, because you will have an extraordinary amount of players that are very assumptuous and very disrespectful. Expect that. I mean, it's a video game, so for them to be reminded that the real world is existing, it also exists in video games, because that's the era of our time. And so, Big Brother, the Big Brother, you know exactly what Big Brother is. The Big Brother is the oldest that knows the structure of your clan, knows exactly what to expect. Now, every senior is in, you know, they're wild, they're crazy, they're like, oh, I'm happy to be in my home now. I'm a senior. I'm gonna do everything possible to like help my guild master and all this stuff. So it's up to you as guild leader what privileges you will give to your members. So for instance, you will have the guild storage. The guild storage gives them access to supplies that they need for their guild, for their progress, for anything they need, and it's up to you at what level of time frame you will give them access. Now, be mindful that there are people that are just sick and terrible, and then they're bored and they just have No other thing besides scamming others, stealing others, or whatever petty reason or whatever reason they have for stealing. Anyways, they shouldn't be doing that. And at that point, you can mark them if someone does steal something from your guild and leave. Always have a time system. So the way I would do is it will be under the consideration that this member is brand new. They might be suspicious. They talk a little weird. Maybe they say something off and they're not. You need to be careful of what comes into your clan. Make sure that you have a standard communication always at your disposal and have somebody like your admin ready to engage in the conversation in order to put them in a place. You have to put them in a place. You can't just expect them to do something. It's hard being a leader. I'll tell you, it's hard. I build a system that I can follow because it's easier to follow and to be organized. And sometimes the first thing guild leaders want to do is, I want to provide kindness and I want to provide all this to show my players that I care, that I'm not a pushover and I'm not gonna treat them this way. And like sometimes you need to be a pushover. You honestly need to be a pushover. It's not that um you're gonna be evil or show some type of disdain. No, what you're showing is called discipline. And a lot of times, players need to be reminded. There's nothing wrong with that. So if A is not behaving to get to B, or rather, let's do it this way. B is not behaving. No, that's terrible. Forget I said that. If use a Pokemon reference. If Charmeleon is being a brat and won't listen to your advice and suggestions to become Charizard, and they're going to be disrespectful, you have every right to remove them. Every right. I know it's like me. I feel bad kicking somebody that I potentially feel has worth the cause to reinforce, to convince that they can do better, but there's just a point in time where if they don't fit, they don't fit, and there's nothing you can do. All you can do is just move on and go to the next person and say, hey, what's up? Language barrier is also an issue when it comes to members. So when it comes to overseas, you may meet somebody like in the um why do I even have this here? I'm just dumb. You have somebody that has no idea how you behave. So like get somebody from Vietnam and you get someone from India, China, Egypt, Westerners basically. You have to kind of settle down when it comes to these players because uh, you are wondering if you're going to generalize these players. You have to remember they come from a different background. They are not used to American culture. They're not used to certain cultures that show modesty and respect. They come off as, kind of arrogant and like they know better than you. And so it's kind of hard to sometimes to tell them what to do. And so and your intention isn't to like belittle them, but they don't understand that. So it takes with a challenge when it comes to regions. And the game, and you have to understand the game isn't fair when it comes to connections. It's not fair because of the IP block to certain regions, and so um, the best thing you can do is try to conform with them, try to make sure they are, um, you know, in a place that's not gonna like hurt them, so they think they're gonna hurt them. And any type of rude behavior, you don't, if you don't tolerate it, you don't need to tolerate it. You can just kick them. You can just remove them. I wouldn't. I would, in my perspective, I would try to tolerate it because I have my own perspective that I should have like pushed them. But I know you have every right, if you don't want to deal with it, you have every right to kick them. You have every right to um, teach them a way that if you're gonna be rude, you can go. You can go. Remember that you are the boss. You need to. If someone is not willing to listen to you and not willing to talk to you, not willing to, they just want to sit there and just loot and grab your buffs and then leave to another guild, you have every right to confront them and push them. Oh, you don't need to confront them. You can say, you're not worth the effort. Bye. And if, you know, you have every right, and so the right of the admin also has the power to remove members that are not going to listen to you, or they are not just going to listen to admins. Be sure that you treat your admins right, and if there's an issue with this thing is not, come on, and make sure that your admins are listening to you, are listening to what you have to say, because there has been many times that guilds are fighting because one doesn't like a member and the other one doesn't want to stay, and they're just staying because um, there's a line between commitment and there's a line between friendship and bonding and all this stuff. This thing is really not wanting to. Oh, that's why, because I'm dumb. Okay, no, come here. Okay, so you will come down. Okay, so we will put this here. So overseas, so we just got this overseas. So let's see, you have to give direction to the admins to get your players happy. Or rather, not happy, but in place. When you get a top tier, or big top tier, and so you get a rank 20 in the guild, that affects your outside image status. You are basically telling the community, my guild is strong because I have top tiers. That is usually the first thing that comes to mind, is that, oh, you have strong players, because the raid in the game is hard, and so there's the line of carry and being carried through the harsh missions, redeemers, bosses that required a lot of teamwork but a lot of power of said player. Sometimes stats gets over the head, gets over their heads. So Vindictus has built a system where you have a crown next to your name if you reached a certain top list. And so these are players that you must be careful. If you happen to recruit them, you have to talk to them. Be sure that they are in your best interest. In your best interest to stay in your guild. If they are like a loner and they're like, I've been through this and been through that and I'm looking for, the same idea here. They're looking for a place to chill out. They're just looking for a place to settle in and not fight with it. And so yours just started. Yours started recently. Yours is new. And so that's a good thing for you. But if you are also in like the lead range of tops, that's also good because it gives a good leader would have strength to lead and to inform and to provide, but also has his own attribution, stats and requirements and his favorite class he plays. I think I swallowed something. When it comes to communication line with members and seniors and all the members, is that see. No, don't do that. I just made a copy. When it comes to the communication between the babies, and someone says something offensive that should have not been said, that is when you and your admins handle the situation. So the way you will handle the situation is you will try to put a constraint on who said this and who said that to differentiate the bottom of the conversation. So if someone might have said something they shouldn't have, and they in a place that is like, it just looks like bullying at that point. It just looks like someone said something to somebody and they're discriminating because they have money or they have something, and so that's when you come in and say, hey, what gives you the right to insult him or her for having money if they want to support the game? What makes you viable to demand that they shouldn't spend in the game? Which is usually the topic, most of the time, topic in the game, is that players have this perspective. One has the perspective of spending and gachaing, and from your point of view, it should be like, okay, well, I don't know how your point of view will be, but basically the fact and the reality of the game is that it is a gacha game, but it has ways to grind. And so when you recognize the way of the game, there are two ways of gaining profit and getting stronger. And part of the levelty of providing is also from the guild. And so that is when you purpose. So guild storage is cost. So you do need to spend to open these storages and grind, or if you choose to grind, or you choose to just remain them. So for me, it's like this. The senior is the respected member of your clan, while as the member is not. They need to reach the senior level to prove that they are worth it. That's how I would look at it. For me, I would. Some people would wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks and check GP contribution. So if they reach like a 3K, 3,000 guild points, or 4,000, whatever, that would be every day they would have to raid and do the daily to do everything, and then they would have to do that for almost 2 or 3 weeks. And usually it's a good calculation depending on what you want to use. Like if you want to use, because your guild will need guild points, and so for them to farm they will need to show that they're serious. That's one way. Another way is, maybe you don't want them to give them too much of that stress to prove that there's something, but maybe you want to see interactions, you want to see something, give them a test, give them some type of test. It doesn't have to be psychological, but it can be some type of test to join, or to grind, or to show you something, some type of intelligence, something that tells you they are worth the cost. Okay, so for me, I give them a probation period. I call it probation period because that's what it is. They are being tried. The first time they're being tried. They're being tried at a new guild. So they need to understand that they are not in the same guild. They are in a different guild. Okay? They're in a different guild. So that means they need to respect new rules. And so, as Guildmaster of Vibe, to all new guild creators, get creative, build a system. You can do it. You can build a system. You can use mine as an example. I have no problem. If you want to use the Vibe system, you can change it in the way you want. I just follow the arithmetic of when I came back to the game, and I use my creative senses. I use my creativity of my structure, my structures, to guide me to how to build a community. Um, it will take time. It will take time. When you mega and gain a variety of players, there will always be a player that feels happy with you and will stay with you, and then there will be more. So don't worry if you end up losing a few numbers, but don't treat them like numbers. Treat them like, people. Now, when it comes to when you get further into the deep, a guild master has to realize what mistakes they made and correct them, because then you start to notice your guild, your members and your admins, that they are looking for a specific direction, and that direction may challenge you. Because they challenged me, because I wanted one thing and I had to start with something I didn't want to, but I knew if I didn't, you have to take sacrifices. You have to eventually make sacrifices for the betterment of what you want at the end of your guild. And you can do so many things with it. You can build content, you can live stream. If there are certain reason you don't like certain things, you have every right to express in your own guild. Now, if, of course, no one likes discrimination, no one likes to be talked down to, nobody likes to be belittled, and if you don't stop those actions, and it starts to spread across the entire community, so then they may not say whose fault it is, but it's pretty plain and simple, or plain for others in the small group, that this and that. But remember that if you made a huge mistake and you're willing to correct it, for you it's simple. you are willing to make it right. You're willing to make it better. So all that matters is that you start, doing better. That's no matter how much time it takes. And so the good thing about admins to have is when you go on vacation. Like say, oh, you got a vacation to Las Vegas, or you go to some place to refresh your mind from leadership, or you have a new proposal job, or there's something happens in life. And so there's reasons why you have members. Now, if members can somehow take care of themselves, that'll be on you. That will be the trust you have between your members and how much buffs you have extended while you are away. Always keep communication available, so that's why Discord is provided, because you never know what players might be doing. But it's not necessarily to push somebody to use Discord or use some type of application if they don't want to. I know that I have recommended it many times, and some players you just can't do anything about. Communication platform. Create an image. For your players. Give them a sense of belonging, just as you create a sense of belonging for you, like going home or going to a park, meeting up with friends. You feel like you belong in something, and so that is what's in. So the thing about image is that whatever image you're trying to bring, I recommend it to be positive, because other guilds will be looking at you, other environments will be looking at you. We may not talk as guild leaders, even though I think it's a fun idea if we do. But eventually, there will be a sit down, maybe somewhere in the future, and we will have like 10 or 9 guild leaders sitting at the front of each other, discussing their way and discussing the. It'll be like an anime funny moment scene or some type of disagreement, like, well, you did this to this member and you did nothing about it, so then this member, all the drama. So be funny. So be aware of your own image too. Be open-minded. It's not easy, because at the end, it's not the game, it's the people. And you know that as much as anybody. You can have a website, you can have the Discord, you can have many ways of recruitment. Once you have established a number of people that you want in your clan to follow, they will follow you. But don't, don't belittle them and expect that they'll follow you to the end of the world. Eventually someone will. Maybe you'll gain a lover somewhere. Maybe you'll gain a new prolonged perspective when it comes to them. Who knows? I can't dictate your life. We can talk about it if it ever comes to it. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I feel like there's not a lot of guilds, a lot of content when it comes to Vindictus. I think it's important that people get to know what's it like, and so yeah, structure is important. In my opinion, it is. Get creative. Get creative. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope this guild guide to being a guild leader in Vindictus has helped you, and you are always welcome to find me in the game and talk if you want to have some ideas open, or you need some suggestions about how to get started or what's best. And so you have to, keep in mind that it's a huge responsibility, and it has to be something you are willing to go under. And I'll provide help and materials to send over to your guild if you need some stock up, so that way you don't, spend so much. And so that would be my offer if to start up, because the game does need a lot of people. So I'm always grinding, so I have a multitude of supplies that I'm willing to donate to another guild if they are a good ally. So yeah, that's it for now. Welcome to Vindictus. Hope you like it. Expect growth with yourself and your people. Thank you, and we'll see you around.